All right, let's start taking our seats. It's about that time, people. All right. Let's get to it. 1, 2, 3. All eyes on me. All right. I want everybody's attention. Eyes on me. I'm the most important person in this room right now. Welcome, everyone, in person and online. We're so glad to have you guys here today. I'm Fonzie Slater. I'm the executive assistant here at RevRoad. If you've known me for a while, you might be confused because like a couple weeks ago, I was a business development rep, and now I'm the executive assistant. I just upgraded, okay? So I'm here now. At RevRoad, we love to support entrepreneurs. If this is your first time at RevRoad, we love having you. We'd love to have you back. We have these on a monthly basis. Pretty much, if you don't know what RevRoad is, we are, I'm going to use an analogy as a sports team, okay? So imagine you're an entrepreneur and you have a great business. Everybody thinks money is the only thing they need in life, and that's what's going to save their business. At RevRoad, we have a slightly different belief. We'll help you get money if you need it, but we know that the reason you want to get money is usually because you need to hire a sales development representative or a chief marketing officer and whatnot, and that's what we offer. So that way we can actually take your business to the next step. And we have a bunch of professionals and teams. So instead of being your coach or just your coach, we are, we play on your offensive line, and then we show you how to play offense, and then we teach you how to play offense. We're in defense. We're a goalie. Whatever it is you need, we'll play in there with you, and then we show you how to do it and find you someone that's going to do it just as well as we can, or maybe even better, if that's possible. But that's how RevRoad works. A couple of announcements. If you need to use a restroom, they're just right outside these double doors here and to the right. Just a reminder, though, like I said earlier on, we have people online. So during the question and answer portion, raise your hand if you want to ask questions, and we'll have mic runners come to you. Now, with the microphones, this is really important. Some people, they like holding the mics down here. Can't hear a single thing if it's down here. You got to eat this thing. It's got to be like this, or else the people online can't participate, and we really need them to be able to hear you. Those online, we'll have someone monitoring the chat. If you have any questions or comment, just comment right in there. Someone will ask it for you. And then we also have a great event coming up this next Monday, RevRoad Rally Car Show, June 5th from 6 to 9 p.m. at the Scara Park in Orem. Your family and friends are invited, and there'll be free food for the first 2,000 people. There'll be an amazing car show, over 200 vehicles, and it's kid-friendly, family-friendly. There'll be so many activities, and it's the way we like to start kicking off Orem Fest. For the schedule today, we will have a quick workshop from our social media specialist, Jared Eyring, on the social spotlight, igniting your brand on social media. Then we'll have a builder series with Courtney Brown forms from Sense of Style. Excuse me as I go through the back here. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So we'll let's give a warm welcome to Jared. And where's Jared? Where are you at? There you are. There he is.
All right. Good afternoon, everybody. So, my boss, AJ, he told me, it might be a good idea to start out with a joke. So I think the joke is that, thank you. I think the joke is that he gave me this assignment while he's out on the golf course today. So, hey, we're here. We're happy to be here, though. So, yeah, we're going to talk about, social media and how to get, things going with your brand or possibly a personal page. So, one, we're going to talk about, the blue sky of opportunity when it comes to social media. We're going to talk about the process, how to optimize your channels and make the best of it. We're going to talk about the tools, how to get organized, how to get started, what you need to use for that. And we're going to talk about reviewing your social media, seeing what you're doing good, seeing what you can change to do better. So first, finding opportunities. You know, it's a blue sky out there when it comes to social media. You know, anything's possible. We're going to talk about finding opportunities and taking those opportunities. All right. Let's see here. Okay. This might be my next joke here. I'm going to show a clip of a music video that I was in. Here we go.
藝正賓，正正宗，你食咗飯？食咗啦。你準備好未 ？Let's go！
All right. That's a pretty good joke if you ask me, because I don't belong anywhere near the music industry or recording studios or anything like that. But I had the opportunity I used to live in Hong Kong, and I learned to speak the language over there, and I wanted to start something. So I was going through school, I was getting my marketing degree, and I said, you know, I don't have too much experience with social media. You know, I've posted a couple pictures and videos here and there, but I want to do something, you know. And so I started this group, and I followed the Hong Kong culture and their music. I really like listening to their music, and I saw an opportunity there. I said, you know, I don't see very many white people making Chinese music, so let's do something. And so I created a group and a music video, and it went super viral. It was picked up by all the major news channels and radio stations in Hong Kong and even other places around the world, and it was a blast. It led to other opportunities. The Hong Kong government flew me out there to film more projects to promote tourism. I met up with some celebrities, and it was just a great time. And let's see. So yeah, that was just an example of, you know, seeing an opportunity and taking it. Other ways that you can do that for your business or personal pages is, you know, events that are happening in the world. A lot of times that I see something go viral, it's because it has to do with some big event, you know, something that the world is watching. And so I did this when COVID hit, everything shut down. The grocery stores, you know, sold out of toilet paper. I got on there and I made a quick little video about how stores were selling out of toilet paper. And again, it went, got a lot of traction and people were picking it up, and it was a blast. Another example is something like a sporting event. You know, we got Super Bowl, World Series, the NBA Finals coming up. Here's an example of Skittles, how they saw that opportunity and took it. You know, there was a hockey playoff going on, and they made a quick little joke about, you know, the team that blew a 3-1 playoff lead, and it went crazy. You know, they got 6 million views, and it was awesome. All right, so you might be wondering or thinking, oh, I'm super busy. I don't have a lot of time to follow trends and see what's happening. There's plenty of pages out there like this one. For example, the Social Marketing Queen. She's awesome at posting things that are, you know, constantly updating with social media channels or events in the world. So there's plenty of resources out there to help with that. All right, so along with taking opportunities, you don't want to miss opportunities. Our buddy here, Jeff Bezos, he says, you know, social media is really powerful. If you make customers unhappy in the physical world, they might each tell 6 friends. If you make them unhappy on the internet, they can each tell 6,000 friends. And so this, oh, sorry, I forget it's going to play. So this next video clip is an example of a company that missed a big opportunity, and it turned out pretty bad for them. So this guy, he goes around doing these pizza reviews all over the world, and he gives ratings to these pizza shops. And this guy came out, he saw him filming, and he basically kicked him out. He was pretty rude, told him to get out of there, and it didn't end up well for them.
This guy's got permission to shoot on my patio today? Cool. So I'm gonna need you to make your way out this way.
Okay. I'm gonna give this a 0.0. Goodfellas kicked out. National Pizza Review 0.0.
I'll throw it away for you though, so we don't litter.
It's trash.
Thanks, boss.
Trash. What a mistake that guy made. Kicked out.
Terrible?
Kicked out.
What? Kicked out?
That guy kicked us out.
Who? This guy?
Yep.
Dude. Kicked out for what?
Rating pizza.
We got another one, Press.
Oh, he doesn't remember kicking us out. It's on tape.
That's Barstool Sports, man. Barstool.
Oh,
All right, so that's an example right there. You know, that guy could have totally changed that around for his business. He could have came out, joined him in the video, you know, welcomed it, but instead the opposite happened. And I actually went and looked at this company's Yelp page, and it was shut down because of how many, you know, how crazy it was going. So, yeah. All right, so let's talk about how to optimize our social media channels in honor of Transformers coming out pretty soon. We got Optimus Prime here to help us remember. His name actually means the best, so let's remember to be the best here. So let's talk about the basics. You know, it might seem simple, but it's shocking how many companies don't get the basics down. So, you know, when filling out social media channels, you know, you got the info, you need a good handle, a good name, info, call to action. Like here, Crumble Cookies, they have their link there where you can order directly. And on the left here is a kind of a bad example of what to do. So this company they actually hired a marketing agency to take care of their Instagram. And it's, as you can see, it's full of, there's 180 of these low quality inspirational quotes that I don't know about you guys, but I wouldn't care much about. And you can see their profile picture is cut off. It's pretty bad. And then you can take a look at Crumble Cookies. Big fan of Crumble Cookies myself. They know what they're doing. They got everything dialed in. They have the coordinated story highlights, and it looks great. When it comes to uploading other things like videos, it can be quite a hassle. It asks you a lot of questions, but I encourage everyone to take the time to fill that out correctly and make sure everything's dialed in. Again, it's pretty shocking how many companies don't take advantage of this to make the most of their posts and their videos. So it's a great idea to do that. All right, another thing is to post a variety of things. You know, I love going to social media channels and seeing a variety. Again, like that, the inspirational posts, that gets boring. Nobody likes to see that. So post pictures, make sure they're high quality, videos. Places like YouTube, they want you to stay on their platform. So they favor longer videos, like 10-minute videos. I mean, short videos don't hurt, but you got Reels, you got YouTube Shorts. You know, people are liking the short form, entertaining content. And let's take another look at, I got cookies on the mind here. We're looking at Crumble again. So I follow them on Instagram, and I thought I had a good idea. I thought I knew, you know, they post pretty consistently about, obviously, cookies, but they have pictures. They have a good mix of carousels and videos. I was surprised when I went to their YouTube channel to see content that I've never seen before. And so even for preparing for this presentation, I stayed on their page and I watched what they had because I'd never seen it before. So that's just a good example of posting a variety. All right, love him or hate him, Mr. Beast. He knows what he's doing, and he does a good job of optimizing his channels, especially when it comes to thumbnails and, you know, creative titles for his videos. Like, I went to his YouTube channel, and I was instantly intrigued by this guy holding a giant knife. So he does a good job at that. All right, so once we're ready with all that, it's time to get organized because social media can be a bit crazy and stressful. You got all the platforms, needing to get everything ready for that. So one thing that can be super helpful is a content calendar. So we at RevRoad, we use a program called Pally, and it's been awesome. It's a place you can upload all your content. You can see here on the left side. You can schedule out which day and specific times and which platforms you want to post to. You hit schedule and you can forget about it. It'll post automatically for you. It's pretty good. It costs about $15 a month, but it's pretty worth it. All right, when I was first starting social media, I felt really limited because I didn't know how to create anything. I saw videos that I wanted to put either text or graphics on, and I didn't even know how to do that. So when I discovered Canva, Katie, you can close your ears for this part. She's not a Canva fan. There's other programs out there, but Canva's pretty awesome for, people like me who might not understand Photoshop or other in-depth programs, but it's pretty good for creating stuff. When it comes to creating videos, there's a lot of programs again. There's Adobe programs that are pretty in-depth and a little more expensive, around $20 a month. And that's great if you're up for that, but there are other programs that are free and a little more easy to use, like CapCut. And I was pretty impressed with CapCut, how easy it is. You can do it right there on your phone. It's simple. There's a really good free version. There's also a pro version if you're willing to get a little more crazy with it. All right, another tool that I've found, really interesting and I'm pretty new at is all the AI tools. I'm impressed with everything it can do, especially ChatGTP. I write a lot of post descriptions and it can get a little tiring. So ChatGTP can come in clutch for things like that. So as you can see here, I asked it to write a description for my superhero party. And voila, it did it right there. So I'm going to simply copy and paste that, send it out to all my friends. All right, image generation. I was pretty blown away by what AI can do. As you can see here, there's commercials created by AI, but they're a little bit freaky. It can give you nightmares, to be honest. Like you can see in this bottom left, the guy's hand there's like 10 hands holding this weird soda can. So there's still some bugs to work out, but I imagine in the future, it'll be pretty awesome. But on the right side, you can see RevRoad. We've actually used AI to help us create ads. So it's a great tool you can implement in your strategy. All right, so we can now analyze the results after we've started posting and we're getting stuff going. We need to see how we're doing. So some important things to look at is reach, the number of people who saw your posts at least once. Post engagement, people who are commenting, liking. It's a good indicator of, if your posts are performing well, and obviously new followers. Another thing is listening metrics. We're on social media to be social. You go to a trade show to talk to people. Imagine going to a trade show and just ignoring everybody who comes up to your booth. So social media is a great place to listen to your customers and hear what they're saying. Domino's and Krispy Kreme are great at replying to as many comments as they can. All right, we can look at competitor metrics. There's no shame in it, looking up your competitors and seeing what they're doing well, what they're not doing well, find new opportunities this way. And yeah, I've done it, and it's helped a lot. Like our buddy Sun Tzu here, he says an army without spies is like a man without ears or eyes. I kind of feel like a spy whenever I'm going and looking at competitor pages, but it really helps. All right, so today, wrapping this up, we had the chance to learn about finding new opportunities, always keeping our eyes open for the next thing that can help us. We learned about the process and how to optimize our social media channels. Remember, Optimus Prime, we want to be the best. We learned about some tools. I hope you guys got some good insights from that on tools that can help your social media strategy. And never forget to review, pivot if needed, keep going with what's working, and you guys are going to be all right when it comes to social media. And that is all I have today. I don't see any hands, so, oh, there we go.
Okay, as a brand, do you have a specific channel that you would suggest to focus your efforts, or do you say hit them all?
Yeah, good question, and that's something I've thought about as well. I've worked with groups before who their main focus was YouTube, and so that's where they would concentrate most of their efforts is on one channel like YouTube, but they would also post to all the other social media channels. You know, their motto there was, it doesn't hurt. You know, you never know who's going to see it on the other channels, even though they want to focus on something else. Chelsea?
Okay, so congratulations on going viral from your Hong Kong videos. But how did you get people to see them to make them go viral? You made them, but how did you get them to see it?
Yeah. So I did put a little bit of work into, not much, but my strategy with that was I searched all over social media and I gathered as many emails as I could, you know, to send out a big email blast when we had the video ready. But I don't know if that did any good. The way it went viral, so it was, I think a big part of it was, you know, white guys rapping Chinese, to be honest. But yeah, the way it went viral, some kid saw it and he actually posted it on his own channel. Like he basically stole the video and posted it. And so it was going crazy without us even knowing. And so, yeah, sometimes, you know, social media can be weird. Things can get picked up in weird ways. Some things that you think will go viral don't. So you never know. You never know. You can do all you can, but it's up to the algorithms.
Okay, I got the mic. All right, Jared, backpacking onto that last question. Obviously, like the algorithm plays a big role in social media posts going viral.
Closer to your mouth, please.
Sorry. Obviously, the algorithm plays hand in hand in making a post go viral. So how important is it to stay on trend with social media posts?
Yeah, I would say it's really important. Just for a quick little example, when I first started at RevRoad, you know, we had a TikTok page, and we hadn't posted there in a while before I started, and the videos were getting, you know, not too many views, and so I just wanted to try it out. You know, I kind of wanted, that's a lot of social media is just testing things out, and I saw a trend that was happening on TikTok. Again, back to this CapCut program. I used CapCut, and it can make a quick little edit for you, and a lot of people were doing this on TikTok, so I simply did that. It probably took 10 minutes, and it shot up to over 1,000 views, like in the first day. So I'd say it can help a lot when playing into trends and those type of algorithm problems.
Great job, by the way. You talked about firms missing the mark. When they make mistakes and they miss the mark, what recommendations do you have to stop the bleeding? You know, to address what could that guy have done with the pizza and like build back on the profile, maybe recapitalize on the missed opportunity and turn it around, and I don't know. What would you have done?
That is a good question, and it's something I didn't touch on just for time purposes, but that company actually did a really good job at bouncing back from that. So they used social media to bounce back. They got on their channels and they wrote up, you know, a good post describing what happened, you know, how one small mistake can have a big effect, and they asked people, to not look at the one mistake. They actually linked back up with this company, Barstool and Dave, to do more videos to help, repair the damage. So they did a great job using social media to bounce back from that problem. So that was a good question.
All right, that's all the time we have for questions. Let's give it up. All right, thank you, Jared. Next, we are excited to spotlight Courtney Brown as a featured founder. But first, we're going to have our very own Brittany Umit introduce our special guest. Let's give it up for Brittany.
Thank you. Okay, I'm going to read you guys the awesome abbreviated version of Courtney's bio because she is so awesome, but just for time's sake, I shortened it a little bit. So Courtney is an award-winning CEO, founder of 2 multi-million-dollar businesses, and creator of the Vision Cycle framework. As a successful entrepreneur who has scaled 2 e-commerce businesses from startup to 7 and 8 figures, Courtney has cracked the code on what it takes to succeed in the business world and bring your whole self to your work and life. Her insights and story have been featured in Entrepreneur, Utah Valley Business, and countless podcasts, while her companies have been featured on The Today Show, multiple NBC, CBS, and Fox affiliates, and US Weekly. Drawing on her success as an entrepreneur, wife, and mom, Courtney consults with founders of growth-minded businesses to help them tap into their own wisdom and lead with more authenticity and confidence using her proprietary Vision Cycle framework. Courtney's purpose is to engage wholeness and acceptance and genius in all she encounters. So please give Courtney a warm welcome to the stage. Okay, I'm so excited to have you here today. I want to just tell everyone a quick story. When I chatted with Courtney a couple of weeks ago just to kind of get to know her and her story and things like that, she ended up saying, I haven't been to RevU before, and I'm not exactly sure what to expect. Someone just asked me to do it, and I said yes. And so I think that says a lot to Courtney and her ambition and her willingness to try new things and put herself out there. So I'm really excited about today. So, Courtney, just getting started. Is that mic on?
Yes, it
okay.
is. All right.
Perfect. So, in your bio, it said 2 multi-million-dollar companies. Let's start with Sense of Style. Can you just give us an overview of the business and how you became an entrepreneur?
Yeah. I started Sense of Style, which is an online women's fashion brand, in 2007. So that makes me what I like to call an original gangster of e-commerce. So I started Sense of Style over 16 years ago. I was a stay-at-home mom with a young child, and I was desiring a creative outlet outside of home and motherhood. And as I just happened to, I've always loved fashion. I like to tell the story that I was the 10-year-old girl that got the money from her grandmother, and I went to the mall, and I bought a Blossom style dress. Do you guys remember the TV show Blossom? No? Yes? The big hat with the sunflower. And anyways, I spent my birthday money on the dress. And I had become, over the years, this trusted source on fashion with my family and friends, and they would say, how were you able to do this with so little money? And I just started talking about it and realized that there was a hole in the market. That Target, guys, this is 2007. Amazon isn't what it is. Target hadn't reinvented itself. Digitally native brands. We didn't even have social media. And I just happened to have a front row seat to this all up and coming. And I thought, women need a place where they can go, talk to a trusted friend, and have curated fashion that allows them to look, feel, and do good. So I started with no business plan, 1 credit card, a $5,000 loan from my mom, and I just started.
And where did you start? What did you do first?
Yeah, do you remember the in-home parties of the early 2000s?
Yes.
That's where I began. So for about the first 4 years, I developed a group of about 40 what we called stylists in and around Utah, in Idaho, and Arizona, and we would go into women's homes and set up boutiques in their homes. We did that until about 2011, where I realized that this business I had created had a huge scalability problem. It wasn't scalable, never taken a paycheck. I was about $50,000 in debt, and I didn't know what to do. So I called my brother and my best friend from growing up and asked for their advice. And my best friend at the time, or from all growing up at the time, was, remember, this is about 2011, so we're still really coming out of the recession time period. And she was the affiliate manager at the country's largest frugal living and coupon blog called The Crazy Coupon Lady. Out of 2008, there was a group of women that figured out how to help their families and monetize blogging by working with coupon sites. And they, along with mommy bloggers like Heather Armstrong and Gabrielle Blair, these are the women that really figured out how to begin monetizing online. And I just happened to have this friend there, and she said, Courtney, take it online and take it with an affiliate and influencer marketing approach. So I took the rev to zero, let go of all the stylists, went 100% online, and we scaled to over $1 million within a year and a half for the first time.
Let's applaud that. That's amazing. So what are some of the strategies you used when you made that transition to online rather than in person and in homes? What were some of the strategies you employed to make that successful?
So first, we went online with this idea. The word influencer didn't even exist, right? They were bloggers, and it was affiliate marketing. And I went online and thought, that's my marketing model. I don't know why, other than I had friends that were these up-and-coming bloggers and have since come on the scene and just blown up into what we now know as digital media and this new media. And so we started very specifically with that marketing model and have continued it since then over the last 12 years and actually spun another company off based on that, so that was one of the strategies. The other strategy that I employed was, I happened to pick probably one of the noisiest, busiest markets, women's online fashion, super low barrier to entry, right? Anybody can start, anybody can go wholesale buy, very, very noisy, tons of competition, and that has always been a critical issue for Sense of Style. And I remember being on a run. Back in the days when I was running, some of my best ideas would come through running because it was meditative, right? And it would allow me to think. And I remember I thought, I need a reason for people to show up. Give them a reason to show up on our site, something they can count on. And I started a thing called Fashion Fridays. One deal, one day a week. Again, guys, we're talking, this is a decade ago. This is when Living Social and Groupon and these daily deal sites were really starting to come up, and people were looking for these deals. Remember, Sense of Style, we're affordability in fashion. We're allowing people to try the trends at an affordable price. And so I thought, one day, one deal. And get affiliates online, because then they'll start talking about it. And that was a strategy I tried and employed. And I can still remember my husband, John Brown, who we've been partners in business for the whole of it, 20 plus years, but he joined Sense of Style full-time in 2014 and is now the CEO of our second company, Be Fulfilled. But he was running a 100-mile race. Yes, he did that for a time being, called the Bear 100. And it was the fall of 2013, I believe. And I woke up in the morning, and I was his crew. On 100-mile races, you have crew that shows up at pit stops to give you food. And I remember showing up in the morning, picking up my phone, pulling up my Shopify app, and it said $8,000. And I was like, something's wrong. What's going on here? And so a massive frugal living coupon blog picked up that Fashion Friday deal. and it was boots. It was a pair of boots. And so I'm crewing John through the mountains while trying to get on the line with suppliers to keep this money coming in. And I think that day we ended up, it was our biggest day to date of all time, and it was something in the form of $16,000. But in that, it was the evidence I needed that was like, this is gonna work.
This is gonna work. I'm sure that is a memory just ingrained in your mind of where you were, what you were wearing, what the weather was, like that moment that you knew.
Yeah, it was pretty. It's a pretty comical. I had 2 very young kids. I'm driving an RV through the mountains, trying to get suppliers, dropping calls, making sure John's okay. But you know what?
That embodies women in business. You're wearing like
You're
5
right.
hats at the same time, making it work. I love it. I love that
I
story.
agree with that, and that has been the story of my life in business.
I love that. Thank you for sharing that. So we're basically talking to the inventor of influencer marketing right here.
Not even close, but I have had a front row seat to watch it up and come, and incredible women like Natalie Monson, who is Russ's wife, who's a dear friend, who have created incredible brands doing influencer marketing.
So talk to us about what Be Fulfilled is and how you've seen those two kind of things work together, I guess.
Yeah, so Be Fulfilled is our Sense of Style sister company that we began in 2018, so 5 years ago. So we've watched from the front row of the upcoming in influencer marketing. We have tons of friends in that space, and we saw that they wanted to become their own brands in the sense that they wanted their own physical product to expand on, the digital products they had used and all of that. And we noticed that they were out trying to source themselves. My husband, John, has about 20 plus years in sourcing and in physical product development, and we thought, there's an opportunity here. At Sense of Style, as the name implies, we have never had huge margins. It's all about volume and operational efficiencies. And we thought, I wonder if we couldn't use some of our core competency here, spin off a company that could help our friends create their own physical products, and we will become the back-end operations team. And we went and took it to some of our dear friends, the Amber Zenith and Emily Nelson at High Fitness, if you know the brand. Very, very popular workout brand.
I know it well, every Thursday.
Who've just done an incredible job. And we said, will you let us do your physical product? Will you test with us? Can we try this out? And they said, yes, please. This isn't our core competency. And we started from there. And Be Fulfilled has since scaled larger than Sense of Style with this B2B operations model.
That's amazing. So you really saw a problem that existed and used your skill set to solve it for other people. Was there anything in particular that you learned from your first go around that made your second business just go more smoothly, or mistakes you avoided just because you'd done it before?
Well, let's just be honest that entrepreneurship and business running in general is just solving problem after problem. And if you're not cool with doing that, then don't get into it because that's ultimately what you're doing. And so are there things, we were able to capitalize, like you said, on some of our strengths. And I'm trying to think if there's something specific. Nothing is coming to my mind. But I think also I will say, one thing, and you've heard this before, this is nothing new. Sense of Style is a B2C brand, right? You're working with consumers. Spinning off a B2B brand, there was a lot of benefits in working business to business instead of business to consumer. It's also a much stickier model. To be fair, we were looking from a strategic standpoint of Sense of Style's critical issues. This is what I do now, is I come in and I help strategize with companies and mentor them. But we were looking at Sense of Style's critical issues and realized what I've already mentioned, right? This B2C, we had a very low average order value. It wasn't very sticky, right? The stickiness came through the brand value and, customers that were happy. it was a super busy market there, and there was a super low barrier to entry. So we started looking at those and saying, well, how can we turn those on its head in a different company? And Be Fulfilled basically is the antithesis in its model to those critical issues at Sense of Style.
That's great. So you, I'm curious, you know, you identified these strengths of one company and kind of spun that into a whole separate company. Was there anything personally for you? You identified strengths and weaknesses in yourself that helped you kind of make different decisions on where to delegate and where to handle things?
Yeah, absolutely. That's why I'm no longer a CEO. In January of this year, the executive teams of both companies accepted my resignation as CEO, because for a while I have been feeling very, very called to do other things and explore different parts of myself. But one thing I will say and have said for a long time is that I'm an excellent leader and I'm an absolutely terrible manager. And those are two different skill sets. And in understanding and getting to know myself better, my strengths, my weaknesses, how my energy works, and really getting honest with myself and doing that personal development work, I realized that there are others more fit. I'm a great visionary. I'm a great, founder. I'm a great galvanizer. I can get people inspired and on the same page. But having me manage in the day-to-day is not where my skill set lies.
I feel like we're getting little bits and pieces of the vision cycle framework, which I do want to get into in a second. But first, for any of our entrepreneurs out here that are thinking about eventually they want to sell their company, or maybe they do want to step away as CEO or any sort of exit of their company, talk to us about that experience. What did you have to do to prepare? What did it feel like? What was that journey?
Well, first of all, it took 4 years. So if you think you can do it overnight, I'm not sure you can. I also had a little bit of thing called a global pandemic in the middle of that, so that kind of switched up some plans. But I think that the number one thing anyone can benefit from is, as an entrepreneur and a leader, is that, like Taylor Swift taught us this year, is that I'm the problem, it's me. But the gift is that you're also the solution. One of the best pieces of leadership advice I've ever received is the bottleneck is always at the top. And also that goes with that is that leadership is a practice in letting go. And so identifying, even as simply as asking yourself what you want, what desires you have, where you want to take your life, and then intentionally trying to let go and find people that fill in for you in those areas. And I will also say, transitions are hard. It takes a lot of energy. It takes a lot of missteps and a lot of mistakes. However, if I started Sense of Style because I had a call. I call it a call. Something deep within was calling me. And I look at how my life has unfolded in the last 16 years and what a more expanded, happy human I am because I answered that call. So 4 years ago, almost 5 now, I felt like I got another call that was like, hey, so it's time. Start thinking about this. Start figuring it out. And it took a lot of time, and it took a lot of heartache, and we're still in it. It's not like we decided and it's all still perfect. It's not. And that's okay. Because everything, I believe, that shows up in our lives is for our good, is for our learning, is for our benefit.
So what was that calling? What is it that you're doing now that you've stepped away from your CEO role?
It's this. It's mentoring. It's helping with business strategy. It's helping people create a vision for their lives, their companies, their families, and then intentionally living into it. It's quite miraculous that any of us are even here. Have we ever thought about that? That we have consciousness, and we're here at this time in this place in such a beautiful world. We are literally fed by a dying ball of fire, and we're on a rock continually expanding into a never-ending universe, and we're conscious of it. That alone is a freaking miracle, So what I ask of anyone is, what are you going to do with it? What am I going to do with it? Well, I sure as hell am not going to waste it. And I'm sure as hell believe that every single one of us is here for a purpose and on purpose. And that our whole point in existing is to figure out what that is. Pablo Picasso said, one of my favorite quotes of all time, the meaning of life is to find your gift. The purpose of life is to give it away. We all have a purpose. We got to figure out what it is, and it's always there to help everybody else.
So talk to us about the vision cycle framework, kind of how you developed it and what it is. Maybe give us a glimpse into that.
Yeah, so in 2014, after a couple years of 2014, 2015, after a couple of years of like 250, 300% growth at Sense of Style, the type of growth that brings you to your knees and asks you why you're doing what you're doing, and you don't know any longer because it's that painful. We talk about growth. Growth seems to be the metric in American business that everything is surrounded by, and grow. But people rarely talk about how painful growth can be and how difficult it can be on a company and employees and founders. And I was seeking answers. And the CEO of Infusionsoft, which was an early email marketing software, still around, Clayton Mask, invited me down to a mastermind, invited John and I down to a mastermind because we were using Infusionsoft at the time. And he said, we're learning about vision. And I was like, I don't know what that means, but John and I both felt really good about going. And we went, and Clayton Mask had learned vision from Jim Collins. Everybody knows who Jim Collins is, right? He's probably the foremost expert in the United States on thought leadership around business, wrote Good to Great, and so many books. Collins defines vision as your purpose plus your values plus your mission equals vision. Okay? It's all of those things together.
Repeat that one more time.
Purpose plus values plus mission equals vision. Now, at this same time, a guy by the name of Simon Sinek was up and coming with a little book called Start With Why. And Sinek describes it as a golden circle of the why, the how, and the what. And so I went and I learned about these things, and we implemented it at Sense of Style, and it changed the game. And then we implemented it as a family, and it changed the game again. And then I spent nearly a decade learning about it in many different forums. And here's what I learned. It's actually not a math equation. It's not purpose plus values plus mission equals vision. It's a Venn diagram cycle. And what vision actually is aligning on the different levels of being. The why, or the purpose, is the spiritual. It's the intangible, it's the ethereal. It's why you decided to show up on this earth. And we all have one, and each business has one, and each family has one. But we all will say, do I have a vision for my life? Oh yeah, but it kind of sits up here. And no one spends the time to actually take pen to paper and do the work to define it. But in the defining of it and being clear, it brings alignment. And it brings a lens in which you can make decisions to live the type of life, to build the type of company, to be the type of person that you've always wanted to be. So then the how, or the values, they're the mental and the emotional. They're intrinsic to you. We all have them. It's just defining what they are, right? Core values, as Brene Brown calls them. And then the what, which is where we all seem to really focus a lot on, is the action. It's the physical. It's the external. So that's the framework, and it expands. So I kind of took what I learned from Collins and Sinek, threw my own spin on it, and I talk about it, and I teach it. And the very cool thing is it can be applied to marriages. It can be applied to organizations. It can be applied to individuals, and it's really, really powerful.
You can see how passionate she is as she talks about this. I love it. I can tell just how important it is to you to not only define that in yourself, but to help other people define it in their lives and businesses.
I believe it. Well, because here's the thing. Decisions determine destiny. So how are you making decisions? Or are you not? Because let's be clear, indecision is still a decision. And I don't know about you, but if this is what I get, this one wild and precious life, as Mary Oliver says, I'm going to make it great. And I'm going to make an impact. And I'm going to do it through living through my purpose, my values, and my mission.
Intentionally. I love it. So I'm curious, as you've either done this in your own life or coached other people through it, how have you seen those different values and mission and those different aspects align in their personal lives or their careers or as a business as a whole?
Well, let's talk about why vision is so valuable to any company. Once again, at its core, vision is alignment. How do you want to align employees? How do you get employees on the same page? Well, you have shared values that you talk about that don't just sit on a nice plaque on a wall, but they become a part of the vernacular. You hire and you fire to them. You review around them. You use them in your essence of who you are. How do you align people around a goal? You have a mission. As Collins calls it, it's a 3 to 5 year goal. Purpose is that guiding star. Values are how the path up the mountain that will feel best to you. And the mission is the flag at the top of the mountain that says we came this far, but there is always another peak to get us closer to that guiding star.
So I know this is a little bit of a kind of an abrupt jump, but I want to kind of spin this in a little bit into mental health, because I feel like this can play a role in taking care of your mental health as a business owner or as an individual. So how has mental health, and the reason I ask this is because May was Mental Health Awareness Month, and I know that entrepreneurs have a lot on their minds, so I'd just love to hear kind of what you have to say about mental health and entrepreneurship and how maybe that could align with the Vision Cycle framework.
Thank you. For those that don't know, and I share this very openly on social media, mental health and childhood mental illness is, and I can feel the emotion come up, something near and dear to John and I's heart. Our oldest has struggled for a really long time. And so mental health is really super important to me as a mother, but also as entrepreneurs. The statistics are kind of awful around entrepreneurs and mental health and how we push ourselves beyond any limits. And in 18, when I decided that it was time to shift, it's because I got to a breaking point place that I actually ended up on sabbatical for 3 months during the busiest time, fourth quarter of our company's year. I stepped down, John stepped in, and it was an incredibly difficult time because I hadn't taken care of me for a really long time. And the pressure from every angle is real in entrepreneurship. And anybody that tells you that it isn't being honest with themselves. And I've actually said I want to talk more about that, and I've been advised don't, because it scares your employees and it scares your customers. But see, I value authenticity. It's one of my 2 core values, and it wouldn't be authentic to pretend like it's all shiny and perfect all the time, now would it? So, mental health and entrepreneurship and how a vision cycle helps. Well, when you have a vision for your life, when you have taken the time to slow down and define what you want it to look like, when things get hard, you can rely on it. If you believe that you have a purpose and you have a purpose statement, Brittany said mine, to encourage. Courtney Brown's purpose in this life is to encourage wholeness, acceptance, and genius in myself and others. Now, if I believe that is spiritual, that is something bigger than me, that is why I am here, that when things get hard, I can lean on that. I can go back to it. Now, if you have values and they're defined, values can release outcomes for us. Because if we make decisions aligned with our values, we can let go of what's going to happen, because we can say, well, I made that decision in line with who I am at my core. And I can feel good about it no matter.
That's beautiful. So if there are any entrepreneurs in our audience today that are maybe struggling with mental health or not really sure how to define their vision, how do you recommend they just start and take that first step into taking control over that?
So even before you get into vision, I would recommend getting to know who you are. This is kind of like the precursor. One of the Greeks' main mantras was know thyself. And that goes beyond preference, like whether you prefer pizza to Chinese food. But I'm talking about like know your strengths. Be honest about your weaknesses. To pretend like you're good at it all, it's not real life. We all have it. We live in a world of dichotomy, and we have dichotomy within us. Start learning about who you are and start accepting those different pieces of yourself. What I would say so often, and then start looking at those limiting beliefs and those thoughts that you keep thinking that aren't serving you. The spiritual teachers, Abraham Hicks, tells us that a belief is just a thought we think over and over and over again. And neuroscience backs this up because you've just created a neural pathway. It's not a capital T truth. And so start being curious and open and questioning the thoughts that are coming up, and ask yourself, is it true? Is it serving me? How would I feel if I didn't have this thought? And if the answer is I would feel more free, I'd feel more centered, I'd feel more in love, sounds like a good enough reason to let go of the belief that you're not enough, or you don't know enough, or the belief of perfectionism. Because ultimately, all of those limiting beliefs are doing is standing in the way of you living the type of life you've always dreamed and helping as many people as possible.
I've really seen that in you, that, you know, you have this purpose for your life, and what you're doing is helping you fulfill that purpose. And, you know, you've gone from business to business, now a third business with your mentoring and coaching and things like that. So I just have a couple more questions for you, and then I'm just a precursor. We'll open it up for audience questions. But first of all, did you ever think you would be an entrepreneur? Is this what you thought your life would look like 10, 20 years ago?
Nope. My husband, I always knew, would be an entrepreneur. So you talked about women in business, and my experience over the last 2 decades is that women often become accidental entrepreneurs. Now, nothing about what I've done is accidental, but the beginning was. Men, and now I say this because my generation of women is probably the first that have even been given these opportunities, because women couldn't even sign on their own on loans or buy their own homes until their early 70s. And my parents were married in their early 70s. So my mom couldn't have done this. I mean, maybe later on. And so with that, men have been, I'm going to business school. I made a business plan. I'm starting right out of school. Almost every single woman I know is like, well, I had this idea. Thought I'd try it out. Talked to my sister. Talked to my best friend. She thought it was cool too. We started together. So I've
heard that story before.
A couple times, right? Now, maybe that's changing. But for those women, those of us that have been at this for about, 20 years, that's the story I know. That's my story. So no, I didn't ever think I'd be an entrepreneur. I thought I would be an entrepreneurial wife. But life and God had other plans, and I'm really good with it.
Good. That's awesome. And yes, let's give a round of applause for that. So one thing that you mentioned when we were talking a few weeks ago is, because of this journey that you've been on with these different businesses, you feel that you're in a place to follow that calling, to have that freedom to make those choices for yourself. this is kind of a broad question, but what does that feel like for you? What does that mean to you to have that freedom to make that choice?
So I think it may appear that I have the freedom to make the choice, but I want to be clear that I made the choice and I went forward. And it's no different than when I made the choice to start Sense of Style 16 years ago. I had an idea, I felt a call, I wanted to live into something, and I began. And that doesn't mean, and they all lived happily ever after. It means that that was the beginning of the process of the unfolding of lots of things. What it means to me is I'm incredibly grateful. Incredibly grateful for the life I get to live and the opportunity like being here today that has come up because I just decided to try.
That right there is $1 million piece of advice. Just decide to try. So my last question for you right now is, what is something that you are most proud of that you have accomplished?
Hands down, I'm proud of my companies. But my partnership with John and our 21-year marriage and our 3 kids, that's what I'm most proud of.
That's beautiful. I'm sure there are many people in the audience that would feel a similar way. Okay, let's we have 5 to 10 minutes for audience questions, so we'd love to learn more from Courtney based on what you guys want to know. Please just wait for a mic, and as Fonzie reminded us, hold it nice and close to your mouth so we can hear you. And we'll start right here with Sydney.
Hi, thank you, Courtney. I felt that very deep in my core. Just your story is amazing, and I'm grateful that you shared it today. You talked quickly about your first big pivot when you let all of your stylists go. I want to hear some of what that experience really was for you, because for me, I can imagine how I would handle that and how I would feel. Like, how many stylists did you have? How did that feel? What was that pivot like? Talk to us about that.
Yeah, so I love that you use the word pivot because that's the word I use often. And I think businesses, in order, especially in this digital world, have to be willing to pivot and pivot quickly. And you will find yourself in need of pivoting, and if you don't. So I've experienced pivots, massive pivots, about every 5 years, if you look back. And that maybe that's just our cycle and thing, but so I felt like a failure. Straight up, hands down, like a failure. I was ready to give up, and I would have. Because I didn't need to be doing what I was doing. I didn't need to be working for free and taking all the time away from my family. But 2 things kept me going. Number 1, I had borrowed about $10,000 from my mom. And my mom is a widow, and I thought, I can't leave her high and dry. And at the time, $10,000 felt like an enormous commitment. But I had made a commitment to her to pay her back. And I thought, I got to figure out how to pay her back. So that's one thing that kept me in. And the other thing, and it's tied to purpose, that kept me going, was that I saw what it did for women. A single necklace, a cute t-shirt. They would say, I just feel better. I feel better. And I don't care what it is. But if you feel better in your core, there's something there. And that kept me going because what we were doing mattered to women. And it seemed superficial, like so many have painted fashion to be over the years. But our logo, our tagline, Sense of Style has always been look, feel, do good. So that kept me going. And honestly, I felt like a failure. And I didn't know. And there's been other times that I felt like a failure throughout the last 16 years. And I think that the key was sometimes things have to fall apart for better things to be built in their place.
Thank you. Any other questions? Yeah, back here with Kiva.
So starting a business in fashion, did you have any icons or role models growing up? Like, I personally really looked up to Ralph Lauren. So I guess who would be
Closer,
your
Kiva.
icon? Yeah.
We can't hear you very well.
Who would be your icon or someone you looked up into in the world of fashion?
Oh man, I'm obsessed with fashion. I just love, it's my creative outlet. I love that it gets to speak to who you are without saying a word. You gotta speak to your mood. You know, I think it's so fun. But an icon in the world of fashion, I love Marc Jacobs, always have. The way he's uniquely American but brings a British edge to things. But also, I'm also not in high fashion. I'm in fashion to the middle American mom. The woman that has $20 to spend on herself because the rest goes to everybody else in her life. And I gotta tell you, I've had some pretty cool people wear Sense of Style, but I'm never happier when the mom in Iowa decides and sends in a testimonial that says, I feel a little bit better. Thank you. So, I don't know, I'm inspired by a lot of things, but mostly I'm just inspired by women and how they show up every single day wearing a myriad of hats and doing their best.
Yeah, right here.
Thank you. So you are clearly a very driven person, right? And it's part of your identity, it's part of who you are, and it's common among entrepreneurs. Your frameworks are applying to not just businesses, but to families. What are maybe some of the things that maybe a takeaway that you have when you work with somebody who's not as driven, but still wants the outcomes that you're kind of describing?
So we all have strengths, right? Have you ever taken Clifton Strength Finders? Gallup's Clifton Strength Finders?
I have personally, yes.
Yes, okay. So you said I'm driven. Guess what my number one strength is? Achiever. Weird. It's a part of who I am, and it's my natural ability. But other people have different natural abilities, and I would say that drive may not be their number one, but they have things that they can lean into no matter what it is. Maybe it's relatability. Maybe no matter who they meet, they can relate to. So lean into those strengths. You know, so often we're like, I need to be better about my weaknesses. What if instead we leaned into where we're really good, and maybe that opened up doors in a different way? And then the second part of that is surround yourself with people that are different than you, that have different strengths. And maybe you're not the person that's the driver forward, but maybe you're the thinker that's inventing all that's going on behind the scenes.
That's great advice. Thanks. Let's go one or two more questions, if there are any. Right here.
Okay, I worked with Brittany at House That Lars Built for a while, and so she has all her blog posts of the colorful walls. And I just remember from Sense of Style some crazy cool wall. So I just want to hear whatever that story is.
Yeah, back in the day when Brittany did her Color the Rainbow, I was the Kelly Green in Color the Rainbow, so that was pretty fun. This is inside baseball for a lot of you, but Brittany's incredible. When we got into our building, we were right off the 146 exit in 8th West. We are now at the end of the cul-de-sac, and we have both buildings down there. But when we first got into that building in 2016, after having moved every year for 5 years based on growth, we thought, how could we have something that would be a brand touch point, that would be fun for people, that was completely free? And we had this really 100-foot wall on the south side of our building. And there was one other company that had done it at the time in Texas. And we just had this idea of what if we painted massive color blocks that people could come use. And it's still there. It's not as pretty as it once was, but it's been there now for 7+ years. And it's been featured, there's commercials, music videos, commercials. There's tons on Getty Images of Sense of Style's color wall. It just kind of became a thing and it's still there, and people can use it if they want. Once again, it was trending at the time, and so we went with it, and just was a fun brand touch point.
I feel like that ties well into our social media training of like do something bold and other people will come use it, spread it for you, and that's great. Okay, if we have one more question, if not, that's okay. But if there's someone that's just dying to know something, feel free to speak up. Okay, awesome. Well, Courtney, at this point, I'm supposed to only ask you one final question, but I actually have 2 or 3, so I hope that's okay. Last week, I attended the Consumer Summit. I'm not sure if you're familiar. It's put on by Brandless. It was up at the Health Center Theater. And there was a lot of conversation about social media and working with influencers. So because you're kind of an influencer expert, I want to just pick your brain a little bit, just because I know that probably a lot of these entrepreneurs have thought about working with influencers or tried it, and maybe it hasn't gone super well. So my first question, and then feel free to take this wherever you want, is controlling the narrative. You work with influencers because they have their own authenticity and personalities. So how does a brand work effectively with an influencer when they want to have control, but maybe they shouldn't have control? What are your thoughts?
Why shouldn't they have control?
I think that plays into the authenticity thing. I don't know. In my opinion, the audience follows the influencer because they like their authenticity, their voice, their style, their personality.
Yeah, we just saw a video of a brand miss an entire opportunity, right? Because they weren't open and curious to what the person they were working with. And so I would say if you want to work with influencers, be open and curious to what they bring to the table. If you just want to control the narrative and have them give you an ad, it's not going to go very far. Let them do what they're great at, which is create content. If your product is good, it will speak for itself, and then let them do them and you do you.
I love that. Just plain and simple. Let them do them and you do you. So kind of along those lines, if somebody wants to work with an influencer, how do you suggest they get started? What does that relationship look like over time? Just how do they work with influencers?
You just said the key word. It's just relationships. You get small brands reaching out to influencers with millions of followers and then being hurt that they haven't heard back. Start with people your similar size, show up where they're showing up, and create genuine relationships. That's all that sales is, whether it's relationships with your communities and customers or influencer relationships or vendor relationships. It's all about the relationship. So how we began is we showed up where they were. We sponsored conferences. We provided value to them first. We did not just go ask for them to promote us. And as a result, we have a lot of beautiful friendships that have lasted decades, beautiful relationships and partnerships. So I would say show up where they are. Go meet people. Don't just slide into their DMs and expect them to say absolutely or send 100 emails, right? Like, be social on social media. Start interacting. Care about them. See what they're all about. Don't just hawk your product.
Thank you. That's awesome. Okay, now I'll ask the final question. Thank you for playing along with me there. So what we like to ask all our featured founders that come sit on our blue couch is, what is something that your success has allowed you to do? Something fun that your success has allowed you to do.
Well, it's just front of mind, so I think that's why I'll say it. We bought an adventured van about 5 years ago. It's a Mercedes Sprinter van. It's not fancy. It's not one of these TikTok build-outs. John built it out ourselves, but we took it to Colorado last weekend as a family, and it's fun, and it's adventure, and it brings me a lot of joy.
I love that. We'd love to see pictures of the van. I hope it's somewhere on your social media. So, Courtney, if anyone wants to connect with you or follow you on social media, where can they find you?
You can find me at Courtney.ellenbrown on Instagram is primarily where I hang out. You can follow Sense of Style or Be Fulfilled on those spaces.
Okay, thank you so much for coming today. We really appreciate you taking the time and sharing your wisdom. We want to give you a little gift, a RevRoad swag bag.
Thank you.
Let's just, again, thank her with a big round of applause.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
And I'll turn the time back over to Fonzie to give us the closing details.
All right. Thank you, Brittany. Thank you, Courtney. That was amazing. That was that was incredible. I got a little emotional myself. So much wisdom there. I was looking at her website while she was speaking, and quick flex. First off, I knew like half the models on there, so like whatever. And then also like just the selection, really impressive. I sent it to all my sisters and my sister-in-laws because it's right up their alley. They'll love it. In fact, half the girlfriends I've ever had were exactly that. So it's just much more affordable. So I sent it to them, put it on my Instagram. I'm not even kidding. I put it on my Instagram. If you check Sense of Style, you guys have a message from me telling all the girls that follow me to just go visit your website. I love what you said about affiliate marketing, and it was really synergetic with Jared's training. I think that was incredible. And we've seen at RevRoad, we've seen really great success from so many of our companies that have done something similar. And I loved what you said about finding our purpose, and it's often for someone else. I've found in my life that oftentimes I'm most driven, and I have much more purpose in life when I'm focused on outwards and whatnot. And then the last thing you said that I thought really stood out to me, growing up, I played soccer, many other sports, but I mostly stuck to soccer. And my coach would always say, look good, feel good, play good. And if you know me, I mean, maybe I focus a little bit too much on looking good, but it's it's an important part of my whole life. I work hard on looking good, on my style, because it feels good, and I feel like I do better when I look good. So I just thought that was really impressive. So let's just give it up one more time for her. That was so impressive. We also want to give a big thank you to our lunch sponsor, Central Bank, for providing lunch today. I mean, we cannot say enough about them. Central Bank has been amazing to work with as RevRoad, and as a RevRoad portfolio company, as a family. We love them. We are so appreciative of what they do for the entrepreneurs here. So one more round of applause for Central Bank. They're amazing. Thank you guys so much. So our next RevU will be Thursday, July 6th, and our featured founders will be Angela, Allison, and Marianne, founders of Baltic Born. We're currently in the works to have the Governor Cox, current governor of Utah, come out and do a workshop for us, and that'll be amazing. And with that, we have lunch being set up in the back over here. Please stay around, network. I think this is one of my favorite parts too. You guys just got to listen to Courtney. Now you can talk to her personally, connect with her, maybe even get her number, and she's really cool. All that wisdom, you guys can become friends. There's also so much wisdom in this room already, and so many people that are amazing connections. So please feel free to stay around, get lunch, connect, and meet with some people. And we'll see you next July, July 6th.